So I'm actually just going to say one very quick thing, and then I'm going to hand it over to Nicola, and that is that the presentation that you saw this morning from Joanne and I, which talked about your key messages, your one ask, we talked about the tools. We just wanted to let all of you know that as we move forward with this advocacy work, you will not be asked to develop your own key messages or your own tools or your own ask. The work will be, all of that content will be developed for you and with you, and then we'll look to execute all of that together. So I just wanted to make that very clear that you're not expected to do this work by yourself. We'll do it together, okay? So with that, let me hand it over to Nicola to continue the conversation.
Thanks, Brian. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to bring a key project that I'm currently working on to the attention of our Duchenne community. And I think that the conversations throughout today, we've talked about some really great clinical trials that are going on. And I think, the one thing that we're all sitting here and saying is this is all great and fantastic, but how do we get our boys on these drugs, right? And I'm sure, Duchenne moms are the most impatient people on the planet, and we're not going to sit back and wait for our regulators to decide on policy, what the appropriate, guidance is on doing these things. And so there's a sense of urgency that we need to do this. So one of the things that I'm working on at the moment is putting together a white paper that's going to go directly to Health Canada. And in this white paper, there's going to obviously be some guidance from us, in terms of us meaning the Duchenne community, in terms of what they need to do to speed up their process. But more importantly, and this was brought up earlier, was the piece around our input. So families and individuals who live with Duchenne, there currently is no mechanism with Health Canada to have our input. So essentially our regulators are making decisions right now about the risks and benefits of a particular therapy for approval without actually getting our input and our perspective on these things. And so they're relying on what is coming to them from the companies that are submitting, which give them a lot of credit in what they're doing, but they're submitting clinical data, which is numbers, right? And so it's our job to explain to individuals who have no idea about our disease what those numbers actually mean and the impact that has on us. And so we are essentially putting together a survey currently right now to gather that input from all the families across the country, because we want to hear from you. What we need your voice. Your voice is critical in this process. And also to ensure that the regulators understand what it means to live with this disease. So my ask to all of you is, we need your input, and there'll be a survey coming to you, and if you could take time to fill out the survey, include your input in terms of what it means to you to live with this disease from many different aspects. What is meaningful to you? We're going to compile this and put it into a summary and include it in our white paper that we're going to submit to Health Canada. And I think Dr. Campbell mentioned this earlier as well, that there's other regulators in other jurisdictions like the EMA and the FDA that have drugs that are currently approved. We don't have any drugs right now in Canada that are approved. And so the difference, one of the key differences between those jurisdictions is that they have, whether formally or informally, have some type of mechanism where patients have a say. They have a conversation with those regulators. We don't have that in Canada, and it has to change. And we can't wait. And I think a great example of that is the case right now with Adalurin, right? So PTC submitted 7 years ago. And you think about what 7 years means to you, right? There are boys who were diagnosed when PCC initially made their submission to Health Canada that today are no longer ambulatory. They're not on their 2 feet anymore. And so even if Health Canada approves this drug, next year, those boys no longer qualify for this therapy, and that's not right. Those regulators are putting us at risk by delaying their decisions. And so we need to help them make a decision. And the best way for us to help them make that decision is to tell them what it means to us to live with this disease. So this is an initiative that we're taking on, and we're partnering with Jesse's Journey. We're partnering with all the organizations to do this. But the bottom line is we can't do this without you. We need your input, we need your voice, we need your perspectives. Regardless of what stage of the disease you're at, we want to hear from you. We want to understand what it means to you to live with this disease. And then we'll do our best to put that together and then represent that to the regulators. I think that's about it. So thank you. Appreciate it. There's a lot of work to be done, but one step at a time, right?